Brett Hull scored 741 NHL goals, the fifth highest in league history. But even more than his goal-scoring records and Stanley Cup wins, Hull changed how teams viewed goal scorers forever. He proved that you didn't need to be the fastest skater or have the hardest shot to dominate. While other stars needed perfect setups to score, Hull could find the back of the net from anywhere on the ice with just a split second of space. He was your favorite player's favorite shooter, the guy other NHL stars studied and tried to copy. And even though scouts said he was too slow and overweight, passing on him 116 times in the draft, in 1991 he scored 86 goals, the third highest single-season total ever in NHL history. If you love hockey like we do, tap that subscribe button and join us. Trust me, Brett Hull's story is about to blow your mind. If Brett Hull hadn't been traded to the St. Louis Blues in 1988, one of hockey's greatest goal scorers might have never reached his full potential. When the Calgary Flames traded Hull, he had scored only 27 goals in 57 NHL games and was spending more time in the minors than the big league. Critics doubted his skating ability and conditioning, dismissing him as just another player riding his famous father's name. But in St. Louis, Hull met Adam Oates, a playmaker who would change his career forever. Oates recognized something special about Hull's shot. It was the quickest release in hockey. While other players needed time to set up, Hull could fire the puck instantly. Together, they formed Hull and Oates, one of hockey's deadliest duos. Oates fed Hull in his scoring spots, and Brett buried pucks before goalies could react. This partnership propelled Hull to heights even his legendary father never reached, scoring 86 goals in a single season and redefining how teams valued pure goal scorers. Before Brett Hull arrived in the NHL, the Calgary Flames were already a strong team with stars like Lanny McDonald and Joe Nieuwendyk. They didn't need another scorer, especially one who didn't fit their tough, physical style. The Flames picked Hull in the 6th round of the 1984 NHL Draft, 117th overall. Teams passed on him because he didn't resemble his father, Bobby Hull, who was known as the Golden Jet for his speed and power. In his first 2 seasons with Calgary, Hull spent most of his time in the minors with the Moncton Golden Flames. When he got called up to the NHL, coaches were frustrated with his lack of defense and back-checking. He scored only 27 goals with Calgary, and some teammates viewed him as a player living off his famous last name. The Flames even had him play left wing instead of his natural right-handed position. Living in his father's shadow made things even harder. Bobby Hull had scored 610 NHL goals and was one of hockey's most legendary players. Every time Brett struggled, critics dismissed him as just Bobby's son. While his father dominated junior hockey, Brett's scoring numbers didn't stand out at the same age. But in the minors, Hull was developing a unique shooting style. Instead of catching passes and then shooting, he fired the puck in one motion. Already thinking about his shot before the puck reached his stick, he stayed after practice, perfecting his quick release shots until he could hit his targets with precision. Everything changed when Calgary traded him to St. Louis in 1988. The Blues needed a goal scorer and didn't care about Hull's defensive flaws. Coach Brian Sutter recognized his special shot and gave him the freedom to focus solely on scoring. In his first full season with the Blues, Hull exploded for 41 goals, more than he had scored in his entire career before that. Most importantly, he found the perfect teammate in Adam Oates, who delivered passes exactly where and when he needed them. This partnership transformed Hull from Bobby's disappointing son into one of the most feared goal scorers in NHL history. In 1991, Hull was on top of the hockey world, having just scored 86 goals in a single season, a number only Wayne Gretzky had surpassed. But everything changed when his perfect teammate Adam Oates was traded from St. Louis due to a contract dispute. Without Oates setting him up, Hull's goal scoring dropped from 86 to 70 goals the next season. Critics began to question Hull's ability without Oates, echoing earlier doubts about his reliance on his father's legacy. The real crisis came in the 1993 playoffs. The Blues were facing the Chicago Blackhawks, and their coach wanted Hull to play a more defensive role. Hull resisted, believing his primary job was to score goals. Tensions rose, and the media labeled him as selfish and lazy. Some fans even booed him in his home arena. Compounding the issue was the comparison to Jeremy Roenick, another American star on the Blackhawks, known for his complete game, scoring and defense. People kept asking, why can't Hull be more like Roenick? The pressure mounted, leading Hull to consider requesting a trade from St. Louis. A local poll even showed that 57% of fans thought the Blues should trade him. The situation hit rock bottom when Hull's own teammates started voicing their frustrations. Brendan Shanahan, the Blues' other star player, remarked, "We can't win with just one guy scoring goals." In practice, teammates would sometimes avoid passing to Hull, trying to encourage him to play a more defensive game. One veteran player even taped "defense" in big letters over Hull's locker. But instead of giving up, Hull transformed his game, not by focusing on defense, but by becoming an even better scorer. He studied videos of goalies to identify their weak spots and practiced shooting from awkward positions, saying, "If I'm going to be one-dimensional, I'll be the best one-dimensional player ever." He developed a new move where he'd drift away from the net instead of towards it, confusing defenders who weren't used to forwards skating backward. The turning point came when Mike Keenan became coach in 1994. Unlike previous coaches, Keenan understood Hull's value. "Brett scores goals better than anyone else plays defense," Keenan said. "Why would I want him to focus on anything else?" Keenan built the team's entire strategy around getting Hull, the puck, in scoring positions. The transformation worked. Even without Oates, Hull continued scoring 50-plus goals every season. He proved he wasn't just a product of a great playmaker, he was a great player in his own right. By 1996, Hull had scored more goals in the 1990s than any other player, including Mario Lemieux and Wayne Gretzky. He went from being booed to becoming the most popular player in Blues history. The fans who once called him lazy now wore t-shirts saying, "In Hull we trust." Even his old critics admitted they were wrong. Sometimes being great at one thing is better than being good at everything. By the time he retired in 2005, Hull had scored 741 goals. Only Gretzky, Gordie Howe, Jaromir Jagr, and Marcel Dion had more. But his impact went beyond numbers. He changed how teams viewed one-dimensional players. Before Hull, teams wanted complete players who could do everything well. After Hull, they realized that being elite at one skill could be more valuable than being good at everything. The left circle on power plays is still called the Hull spot by broadcasters and coaches. His quick release shot, once considered unusual, is now a standard scoring technique. In the end, the guy who was too slow, too heavy, and too one-dimensional proved that mastering one skill could make a player legendary. As Hull said at his Hall of Fame induction, "They wanted me to be a complete player. Instead, I became a complete goal scorer." Yes, Hull scored 741 goals, but critics always pointed to his defensive play, or lack of it. In his entire career, he was never nominated for any defensive awards. Some teammates joked that Hull thought the blue line was just decoration on the ice. He often floated around waiting for passes, instead of helping his team get the puck back. But what made Hull special wasn't just his scoring, it was his stubbornness to do things his way. When everyone told him to play defense, he doubled down on scoring. When coaches wanted him to dump the puck in, he'd try to score from the blue line. "If you're great at something," Hull would say, "why would you waste time being average at everything else?" Hull's impact on hockey went beyond his goals. The Tampa Bay Lightning built their power play around Steven Stamkos in a role similar to Hull's, a pure scorer who dominated from his favorite shooting spot. The Washington Capitals did the same with Alex Ovechkin, using the exact position Hull made famous. Even youth coaches now tell their best shooters, "Just find your spot and stay there," like Brett Hull did. Thanks for watching this story about hockey's most stubborn sniper. Brett Hull showed us that sometimes being great at one thing beats being good at everything. If you liked this video about the guy who turned scoring goals into an art form, hit that like button and subscribe for more NHL legends. Click here to watch our next video about the game's greatest players.